The house on Willow Lane had always been there, standing alone at the edge of the dense forest. It was the kind of place children dared each other to approach, especially on moonless nights when the wind whispered through the trees, carrying tales of what lay within. For years the house had been abandoned, a relic of a bygone era with its once grand facade now crumbling, windows shattered, and ivy reclaiming the walls. Yet, despite its dilapidation, there was a strange pull to it, a sense that something within the house was waiting. One autumn evening, a young couple named Jack and Emily moved into the neighborhood. They were new to the area and had heard the local legends, but dismissed them as superstitions. Seeking adventure, they decided to explore the house on Willow Lane. Armed with flashlights and a camera, they made their way to the house just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The forest was eerily silent, and a thick fog began to creep in, wrapping around the trees like ghostly fingers. As they approached the front door, it creaked open of its own accord, as if inviting them in. The air inside was stale, and dust particles danced in their flashlight beams. The floorboards groaned under their weight, and cobwebs clung to the corners like ancient tapestries. The deeper they ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It was as if the house itself was watching them, waiting for the right moment. They reached the living room, where an old, dusty mirror hung above a fireplace. Jack, curious, wiped the grime off the glass and recoiled as he saw not his own reflection, but the image of a woman standing behind him. She wore a tattered dress, her eyes hollow and dark. Her lips moved silently, forming words that Jack could not hear. Emily screamed, and Jack spun around, but there was no one there. The room grew colder, and a faint whisper filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. It was a name, repeated over and over. Lydia, Lydia. Desperate to leave, they ran back to the front door, only to find it slammed shut, refusing to budge. The whispers turned into wails, and the temperature dropped further. Jack's breath formed visible clouds in front of him as he tried to force the door open. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Emily's ankle, pulling her to the ground. She looked down to see skeletal fingers emerging from the floorboards, gripping her tightly. She screamed for Jack, but he was paralyzed with fear, unable to move as the room filled with ghostly apparitions. The wails became deafening, and the shadows closed in around them. With a surge of adrenaline, Jack finally broke free from his terror and yanked Emily away from the grasping hands. Together they hurled themselves against the door until it finally gave way, and they stumbled out into the night. The whispers and wails ceased abruptly, replaced by the eerie silence of the forest. Breathing heavily, they ran back to their home, vowing never to return to the house on Willow Lane. But as they settled back into their lives, they couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed them. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and at night they heard faint whispers calling out, "Lydia, Lydia." One evening, as Emily was brushing her hair in front of their bedroom mirror, she saw the same hollow-eyed woman staring back at her. Emily's scream brought Jack running, but by the time he arrived, the mirror had cracked, and Emily was gone. Jack searched frantically for her, but she had vanished without a trace. The whispers grew louder, and the house seemed to close in around him. He knew then that the haunting had only just begun, and that the house on Willow Lane was not just haunted, it was hungry. And it would not rest until it had claimed them all.